Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back on the mic with Mike. This is the Ergonomic Solutions Hour. Welcome back to the program, folks.
Thanks for having us.
Alrighty, Stacie, we're going to start with you today. Do you know Tim's part, which is the Stacie Bradley Goodman? Tell us who you are. Tell us about Ergonomic Solutions. You know why I'm asking you?
Do I know his part?
Do you know his part? And I'm going to ask you.
You know it.
I know it. I heard it.
I'm going to ask you that because you are, you're here without your name tag, man.
I am here without my name
I
tag.
understand. So we're not sure exactly who you are and whether you know the Ergonomic Solution story.
Well, let's see. I'm Stacie Bradley Goodman. I'm the founder of Ergonomic Solutions.
So she probably knows.
I probably wrote
I
the
think so.
story
Oh,
on that.
okay.
But let's see. I may not be as articulate, but we are a operations management consulting and advisory firm. We focus on small businesses, and we do work with the state government as well. We have over 25 years of experience working across multiple industries with Fortune 500 companies, but now focusing our skills and our experiences to give small businesses the opportunity to have our experience and our knowledge base at affordable prices through our education, advisory, and consulting services.
And you level up with love.
And we help them navigate to operational excellence and level up with love.
So, and that goes, so we're talking about different industries. You guys have different metrics. So, Tim, let's talk about, we have topics that we're going to talk about today, but Tim, let's talk about what an engagement with Ergonomics looks like right off the bat.
Yeah, so right off the bat, there's typically a specific problem statement a business owner is looking to solve. Whether that's process improvement, that's expansion, that's succession, there's a plethora of things. So they come to us with that problem statement. We want to do a full assessment of their business, learn a little bit more about you, see if that's the actual problem or if there's some underlying symptoms that we can uncover and then get down to it. From there, we're going to be extremely hands-on during the process, make an individualized solution for you, and then work right alongside you to implement it.
There's a lot of, so we've had conversations. We don't even need to talk about it now because we've solved all the world's issues before the camera started rolling. So processes and order are baked into a good number of things. So earlier I had on Utebe Besse from Dominion Energy, and she has a thing which is, love as a KPI.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, whoa, that is, that's something right there. So there's order and processes and everything. There are certain things. Let's touch on what we had just talked about a moment ago, whether it's in sports or organizational excellence.
Right. So one of the things we were discussing is the importance of operations and how they impact customer service and the customer's experience. And if the customer has a good experience in any industry, they're going to talk about that with other people. That's going to help bring your brand up and bring your awareness of your business, and other people may want to come do business with you. If they have a bad experience, that could go completely opposite way depending on the market that you're in. Now, bigger markets, you have a lot more, wiggle room there to not get impacted as deeply. But with Yelp and other apps like that, and leaving reviews, I know even when you look on Amazon to buy a product, you look at the review of the seller, not just the review of the product. So the customer service processes are important. This is different, but I had one. So my son likes tennis shoes, and he buys them through GOAT and StockX.
Yeah. Oh, he's one of them.
He's
oh,
one of
Lord,
well,
mercy.
he just finds the shoe he likes. It just happens to be it's a shoe that hasn't been on sale for a while, and so
He must be related to my grandson.
yeah.
They go to StockX, yes.
So that has a definite process to it, with the validation that it is the shoe, and then if you don't get it, so then they ship it to you. Well, the customer service component of that is, did I get the right product? If I didn't, which we didn't get the right product with one of these vendors, and we went through the process to send it back, because he ordered all white shoes. This was a gray and black shoe. It was completely the wrong shoes, wrong size. It was a 12, not a 13. I'm like, look, this is wrong. They're like, well, we can't refund you the money. We'll give you, our policy is that we'll give you a credit for it. I'm like, fine, I'll buy the shoe from another seller. So took the credit and applied it towards the same pair of shoes from a different seller. Got an email, I'm sorry, we'll have to cancel your order because the seller doesn't have your shoe, and we've contacted other sellers and they don't have your shoe, and we'll refund it. Well, they only gave me the $23 for shipping and tax. They wouldn't give me back my $94 from the original one. And I'm like, so the only way you could interact with them is through an app, an email. You couldn't talk to a person. So that is an operational choice that business has made. And they have made a choice on their policy. And I'm like, but now you're holding my money hostage because my son doesn't want a different pair of shoes, and I'm losing trust and faith as a customer with you. If I'm even going to get that pair of shoes, I'd like my money back, please. So having that negative, and he's bought 6 pairs of shoes through this particular vendor. Over the years, we haven't had problems with it, but if there's flexibility or non-responsiveness, that makes a big difference. And so how you set your policies, how you accept your exception processes when something goes wrong, because in another vendor, we've had the shoes got lost. We had paid for them, but they refunded our money. So no problem, no harm, no foul, just some time delay, right? How you handle those policies, same. Amazon has it in their policy. If it's wrong or it doesn't come to you, they will refund your money. It's on the seller. Those make a major difference in how the customer feels. And so one of the things we were talking about is when Mark Cuban bought the Dallas Mavericks. The reason he even bought the Dallas Mavericks was because he didn't have a great customer experience at the game. And he felt like the prices for the tickets were too high based on, his experiences going in as a child with his father to be able to experience the basketball games. They were at least at reasonable prices. And so he said when he bought the team, it wasn't originally about going after, making the players and that. It was about the operations within the stadium, how the ticketing was set, how the vendors were going to be, contracted with to support the entertainment component of it. There were a lot of other elements that he took into consideration to build up the customer experience, and then he could take that money and translate it back into the team. And so we were also talking about other business, changes. So the economy will change with presidential and state elections in the state of Virginia. And that will impact the businesses and the way businesses work. In consulting, we will either be pulled in because the economy is contracting and they need to save money. We'll be pulled in to find cost savings, lean everything out. How can we do more with what we have or with less, right? Or the economy is booming and they want to expand and grow. So they may go through acquisitions. Well, when you go through acquisitions and you change leadership, that changes policies, it changes procedures, it changes customer service experiences, it changes internal operational employee angst, right? Because we're humans, we don't do well with change.
No, we don't.
So it is important holistically that you look at your operations and how they're impacting your customers and how they're impacting your employees, because that makes an impact in how they talk about your company and your brand.
That's true. So Origamic Solutions, Stacie dropping nuggets of knowledge on us. So Tim, when you're out there talking to the business owner, how often do business owners really understand what the customer experience is from the customer side? They know it. This is what our customers say. This is but how often do they really know?
I think they typically have a pretty good pulse, but a lot of times it's a little too late, right? So when a bad review comes in, we were talking about Yelp and those types of sites, that's when we're going to be reactionary. Because if we don't get bad reviews, everything must be good. No news is good news in that situation.
Well,
right?
yes,
They're like, okay,
yes.
so we're chilling, right? But no, I think a lot of people do, because at the end of the day, the customers are going to affect your bottom line. So you're going to notice those trends and what's going on in your business, so you'll understand.
Yeah, there's one other element that came up. Because I watch a lot of YouTube shorts and other things, but they had Jeff Bezos on there, and he was talking about how he would get a weekly review of the metrics, because we talked about some KPIs, right? So key performance indicators or metrics that you measure the success of and how well things are going. Well, the numbers kept saying things were great. Call time, wait times were only at 60 seconds or less. And yet the other information from the customers was fussing because it was long wait times. So what his choice to do, he's like, all right, dial it up. So they dialed the 1-800 number. And he learned that in front of his whole board, they sat there for 10 minutes waiting for someone to pick up the phone. And they're like, our numbers, we're not measuring the right things, or our numbers are wrong because we just experienced what the customer experiences, and it is not meeting what we thought was going on.
We thought we had it covered, so as far as Origamic Solutions goes. So, Tim, how can people find information out about Origamic?
Sure. You can find us on all major social media platforms, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. You can also visit our website, origamicsolutions.com, and follow our personal pages on LinkedIn, Stacie Bradley Goodman and Timothy Pazan.
So one of the things we look at, it goes across, so the customer experience, it doesn't matter whether it's a sporting event, a manufacturer, there is somebody who gets your end product, and you want their experience to be good with you. So, like you said, no one could have told the leadership at the company, Bezos is looking, we're good, we are solid. But
based on the numbers.
But based on the numbers. And people always say, people lie.
Numbers don't.
Numbers don't.
The numbers weren't lying, it's just, are you measuring the right thing?
You were looking at the wrong thing.
How often do people not measure the right thing?
That depends on if they're reviewing it and they're willing to look outside of it. You know, do they, if they get complacent with, okay, everything's green, well, if everything's green, let's look somewhere else, right? That's what we need to start finding the other yellows and the reds, versus just being happy with, nope, we're good. Because most of the metrics are at the top level, and then the devil's in the details. At the bottom level, so they need to continue to dig down and break down their processes and look for the next improvement opportunity.
So you said sometimes we get wowed by the number, the green at the top, because I guess we're looking at who looks like at the devil in the details, because the devil gets lost in the details.
So we were talking last week about the CEO, COO, CFO's responsibilities. The CFO and the COO are looking at those details on a regular basis. The CFO is looking at it from a financial perspective, profitabilities, those types of things. The COO, the operations officer, should be looking at everything as deep as they can go, to make sure that the processes are as efficient, effective, and producing the quality of product consistently. It's not just a once and here. And so you set your KPIs at a threshold you think are reachable, right? Because there's a psychological component to setting KPIs as well. You don't want to set them too high because it seems like a bar nobody can ever hit, and you're constantly red or you're constantly yellow, and it demoralizes people. So they start them at green if you set a reasonable, but as soon as you hit that reasonable expectation, you have to raise the bar a little bit. And that is a little bit counterculture to where we are today. It used to be we were constantly raising the bar. Now, when you raise the bar again, the verbiage that comes over is they're moving the the finish line, and it's never operations never has a finish line. You're always evolving. You're always improving because your outside environment changes as well. The expectations of your clientele change. From what a 60-year-old might require from you and what a 20 or 30-year-old will require from you are different as the company evolves. My mom's owned a service station for 40 years, and when I started at a very young age, I had to go and turn the knob on the gas pump to have it reset. So I had to go every time to every pump and start it before the next customer could come. So my uncle, who owned the company with him, he's like, just stay out there. Don't be running back inside. I'm like, it's hot. He's like, there's shade. You just stay out there, and to keep the next one. Did not want the customer waiting. And we had full service. I checked oil and did the full service for the
Ma'am,
vehicle.
talking to
You
young
don't have
people
that
about,
today.
No, that they would not know what
There's no waiting.
full service.
But if I go up to a gas pump and the computer is glitching or having problems, I find it frustrating, which is different. Some people wouldn't find it frustrating as well. But that industry in the gasoline alone has modified. And then you have to know which gasoline you're supposed to get, the green, the blue, black, the yellow, which, because there are different types of cars with different mixes. So my mom had, over the 40 years, we had to adjust to changing out the pumps from the metal to the computer oriented ones. And then they wanted to go to the ethanol and other, alternative fuels, and it got cost prohibitive to our business. And they had to just take out and shift to a automotive service only, no gas.
What do you think outside of that part? And it's always fascinating when you talk about organizations and industries. Besides when they took out the gas, what was the part, do you think, that was the biggest change for them over the years from an operations order perspective?
Put it in the computer system.
Oh, yeah.
So when
we ain't trusting all that.
We used to have the machine, you put the credit card in, you run it over, made the
remember,
carbon
yes.
copies, right? And we had one, they were Amoco to begin with, and then they moved to Texaco. But with the Amoco, it had a machine, you had to roll it in a roll of it, and it moved to the next, and you progress it and do the next sale. And then that roll of documentation of all the like 5 or 6 sales would go to my mom. And when I was little, we were in our dining room, and the piece of paper was probably about maybe a 4x4 foot. Like, it took up the whole dining room table. And that's how we did the books. We would take those pieces of paper and all the little sheets, and we would do stuff. When we implemented their computer system for them, and it was probably in the late 90s, early 2000s that they went into a full computerized system, that was a big hurdle for them to learn how to use the computer system. And then it was generating email reminders to the customers, and making sure you had everything situated. That was just very different. It changed the whole back office operations for her, because the credit card system, came through the computers, and you didn't have all the little tickets and hard copies.
So she went there like a lot of us went there at gunpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, at
absolutely.
Gunpoint. Yes.
My
I don't know,
uncle used
maybe
to tell
like
me, I don't
shooting
want no Y2K.
I don't want to know. Yes, because we didn't know whether we were going to live after Y2K. We didn't know whether the world was going to still exist. Okay, so when did Uncle and Mom sort of see the value in doing it that way?
Well, I guess they started seeing the value because my uncle could relax a little bit more. He didn't have to it didn't take as many people to run things around.
Okay.
So they could.
So he could start to see it then.
He could retire. Yeah, he could back off a little bit, and they changed their roles. He went and spent more time, socializing a bit at the bank when he took the money in. But the big piece I think we saw is when my mom went to, she had a medical procedure and ended up in septic shock. This is a story I've told before, but the ability with that stuff being on the computers now to bring in our accountant, bring in her other partner to continue, and the business could continue while she was unconscious, basically, because she did all the back end paperwork. They did all the front end sales and service. Having that on the computer made that easier of a transition, because otherwise you had to go through, and we still have mountains of paperwork. Yeah. And because I was like, why do you still have all this paper? We had literally because you have to retain those records for business purposes. We had storage units of boxes of paper and books for years. Now you have them digital. Mm-hmm. Luckily they've gone through the years of exploration, and we've gotten rid of that, but now it's all digital, and so it makes the ability to back them up. She can now take her laptop and go to the beach and work from the beach if she needs to run payroll, etc. So it gave them freedom.
So they saw from a business standpoint the value of that operation going to the digital side. It did make sense. But we did not want to go there willingly because I didn't want to get Y2K'd.
Right.
Because you never know. All right, Tim.
Uncle.
how can people find you out there, Tim?
Yeah, so first and foremost, we are launching our newsletter next week. Yes. So you can go to our website and subscribe to our free monthly newsletter. But then you can also, browse around on our website, origamicsolutions.com, all major social media platforms, as well as our personal pages, Stacie Briley Goodman and Timothy Pisani on LinkedIn.
Tim, the sands of time are running out on Q2.
Yep.
We work forever to get ready for, Q2 1 and 2 of 2024.
Yeah.
Give us some words of wisdom, man. What do we need to be doing that we haven't? Because the hands of time are running down.
Yeah, well, with the sand, it's like the ostrich in quarters 1 and 2. You just stick your head in the sand, right? You're not really taking a chance to take a breath and see the success you've had. So take a chance to look back on Q1, Q2, what's gone well, and what do we need to continue to work on. To go back to a point Stacie made, if we're doing really, really well and we're moving that finish line forward, take a minute or two to articulate the reasons why we're moving the goal even further away, quote unquote, to your team. Celebrate that win, but then say, hey, we got to reset.
Because that's what you guys always talk about, celebrate the small wins.
Right. That's what he has, all the pom-poms. He's the head celebration engineer. But it is important because exactly what he said, you want to continually improve and grow. If you don't, you won't go up the maturity curve. And you have to do that as a human, and you have to do that as a business. And so it is important, and he does remind me on a regular basis, let's sit and celebrate, what we have accomplished.
There you go, Stacie Briley Goodman, Tim Pisani. I'd like to thank you for joining the program. This has been On the Mic with Mike. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks, folks. Take care.
Thanks.